Welcome to Tarot Thursday here in the Firefly Hollow community. We are really glad to be able to welcome you here on a new platform, to be able to see us taking a look at what message we may be able to get from the universe for us for this particular month. Now, for those of you who are new checking in, I tend to pull 4 cards each month. The first card is generally what's the overall theme for the month. And then the next card is what is not in our power to change. In other words, what's not in our wheelhouse, not in our control. The third card, what is in our control? Where do we have some kind of say or some kind of energy that will make change related to the issue at hand, to the theme in purpose? And then finally, the fourth card talks about what's our next best step. If we want to move forward, what's the next best way to look at it? And for this month, what I've chosen, it's a deck I haven't used in a while here for Tarot Thursday. I'm using the Robin Wood Tarot. It's an older deck, old friend of mine. I think this is probably the third version of this deck that I have. It's one that it's very much similar to the symbolism of the Rider-Waite deck, but has a real Celtic flair to it. So it's a deck that means a lot to me personally. And hopefully the imagery will work for you as well. All right, it is now 8:01. We will give it a couple of seconds. And if there is anybody at the end of this who would like to share, how the message feels for you personally, how it seems that this particular set of 4 cards may be acting in your own life, then please do feel free to chime in the comments, and I will respond as well as I can for you. Okay. All right, 8:02, let's make this happen. What does the Firefly community, Firefly Hollow Wellness community, need to know in terms of what's in play for this month? The overall theme, what's not in our wheelhouse? What do we have the power to change? And what's our next best step? Now, as always, at the end of this, I'll take a quick snapshot of these cards and we'll post them online for you so that you can look at them again. Alrighty, so let's take a look here. Interesting. All right. So what's the overall theme? We have the Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups is our adolescent of the deck. The Knights are always the big swing one way or the other. And when I see the Knight of Cups, this is kind of like the knowledge of holding things in love, using your intuition, using your emotions to their best advantage, trusting that you have the flow of emotional awareness, emotional intelligence at your grasp. The fact that we're looking at the Knight of Cups as our theme is also trying to suggest, I think to me anyway, this idea that we are seeking a way to connect with our community from an emotional standpoint instead of strictly from that of logic, strictly from that of reason and our head-based selves. There's a lot of discussion right now in how can we meet heart to heart with other people in our community, in our town, in our state, in our country, in the world. How do we as a collective come together? And the answer is right there. It's love. It's that concept of coming in kindness, coming in open caring. And that love can also be love for ourselves in terms of having healthy boundaries. But let's look at the other 3 cards and see how that might flavor this overall theme card. So the first card for what is not in our power to change. Wow, how about that one? The Hanged Man. When we look at the Hanged Man, this is all about letting the chips fall where they may. It's that concept of letting go, of allowing yourself to wait and see how things shake out. Not acting on impulse, not allowing yourself to, impulsively or in panic respond, or it's the idea of not reacting, but instead proacting. So with the Hanged Man, there is that conscious idea too of a change of perspective. When we surrender, which is what the Hanged Man indicates. I mean, if you think about the position of the Hanged Man in the hero's journey, that idea of the cards in the major arcana, from the Fool all the way through the World, it's the concept of the traveler who has reached an impasse, a place in their lives where there is nothing left that they can do. They have tried as hard as they can to make a change. They've done everything physically in their power. And now the only thing left is to surrender to the situation. And this is where the Hanged Man is lying there. And his perspective changes because he's upside down. He's seeing it from a totally different angle. So perhaps the thing that we need to realize is that until we surrender to the reality of accepting what is going on around us, and remembering that the only thing we can change is our own reaction to it, then we're going to be forever banging our head against a wall. What is in our power to change? And this again makes so much sense. We're looking at the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands is the classic card of petty squabbling. It's that classic idea of disagreements and hassles and competition. And the fives of the deck bring in the community. The fours are all about stabilization, right? And the fives are when that fifth wheel comes into place and shifts things around, changes the dynamic, and adds one more variable that can cause not necessarily a problem, but definitely a change in the way we interact. So if this is the card of what we can change, then I think we can change the idea that hassles, competition, and dealing with each other on a fiery nature that is competitive and difficult or aggressive is what we can let go of. Perhaps the answer to finding love in a community which may be divided is not being at war with each other, but instead trying to see where can we get along? Where is it that we are more alike than we are different? Then the final card, which is the card that's what's our next best step, I find it to be tremendously interesting because it's another major, and it's the Wheel of Fortune. To me, this card is saying we need to just take a breath, take a beat, and realize that everything is happening exactly as it is supposed to. That the universe is unfolding. We are at turning points here, that we are about ready to make a shift and a change, that we have had both the ebbs and the flows in our existences, and we're ready for another turn. And that will be coming quite soon, according to this card coming up as it is. So looking at all four of these cards, we are looking at the concepts of proceeding with love and remembering that we might need a change of perspective before we can really enter into any kind of meaningful interchange with those around us in the community, in our families, in the workplace, in our village, in our hamlet, in our town, in our country. We have to step back and try to see from a different perspective where other people are standing. What we can change the way we interact with each other. If we remove the aggression and instead try to find conciliation, that doesn't mean being passive. That does not mean allowing somebody to walk all over you. What it means is, where can we find the win-win? Where is it possible to meet people where they are and find as much common ground as is humanly possible? And then to finally, and then to finally remember that all of this happens in a normal cycle. It's as I said to a client back at the beginning of the year when we were looking at what's going on in the country right now, the incredible divisiveness that seems to be in play. I reminded them, think about how people in 1863 felt, how people in 1759, 1765, how did they feel just prior to the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the big changes, maybe in the 50s before the Civil Rights Act came into effect. These were points just before change happened. Why should we think that right now we should be immune to any kind of discomfort just before change happens? It's a conversation that Kara Lovehart and I have been having about the concept of learning how to live within chaos, how to keep your grounding within chaos. So I would encourage everybody to find your own center, figure out how you ground, breathe, look at the world from a sensory standpoint, take a moment and get yourselves settled. And then rather than react, proact, respond. Thank you so much for tuning in. I wish you the very, very best in this month ahead. And may you always find the best way to make your Wheel of Fortune work for you. Thank you. Good night.